Hello and welcome to the show. On the program tonight, a haunted house, where to find the biggest scare this Halloween weekend, and the snow has fallen, which means a different holiday is on the minds of the coordinators for Operation Christmas Child. They'll be here later in the show. But first, he's given his life to the border city, but now he says it's time for a change. Here to talk about his time serving Lloydminster is Tom Lysyk. All that tonight on Around the Region. Did you decorate your house for Halloween? I bet it's nothing like this.
What we try and do is add kind of props, inanimate objects, and then mix it with real actors.
A haunted warehouse takes the cake for the biggest Halloween setup in the region. But right now, Tom Lysyk gives his only retirement interview. Welcome to the show. This is very exciting. We have Mr. Tom Lysyk, who has just retired from the city of Lloydminster after 32 years of service. Thanks so much for coming in.
Happy to be here.
So 32 years is a long time. How do you feel leaving?
I feel good about leaving because I'm still not formally retired. I have some side interests that I'm working on. I still be involved in the community, and still be involved in some affairs that are really important to me. And I like to see those things happen, and I'm available to sort of help those through if I can. So. Are
you going to keep some of those committee appointments as well?
Well, in a roundabout way, I'm more available to everybody that would need help, rather than, and more focused in certain areas rather than the general bureaucracy of being a city person that's inundated with two provincial government issues impacting on a single municipality.
So you've been through the thick and thin of Lloydminster. What do you think your biggest accomplishment has been with the city?
Well, for me, there was some, it takes a lot of years to sort of actually even recognize any kind of accomplishment. But I think one of my own biggest ones was the sort of the transition from the old City Hall building to the building of the new one, because I was central to that particular project. It kind of put a new face on things. Yeah. It kind of came at a time when the whole community grew from about when I came it was about 10,000 population, and then when it hit 20, things just changed, and the face changes and the people changed, and now that we're up about the 28,000 population, and the demographics has shifted. It's kind of an amazing sort of a story in Lloydminster, coming from the late 70s, and knowing that we have a cyclical economy. We have a population that comes virtually all over the country and even international now. So you're seeing a lot of things that you wouldn't really have seen in the past, yet you still, today, have the ability to go home for lunch. and you notice that, and I don't think you ever really appreciate that unless you're one of these people that ends up with a 2-hour commute in a big city. For sure. So, that's one of the real advantages of Lloydminster, that you basically can take an hour off and go home,
You've kind of watched
pet the dog and see the kids. You want, yeah. You've
kind of watched it then go from like 10,000 to 28. Is the feeling still the same? Are the people still the same?
Well, the people are really good. I mean, there's people that, have been here a lot longer, obviously. They've been involved in things, but, they're all great people. They still do great things in terms of their social groups and their interactions and things like that, too. But we're seeing now a lot more additional things being injected into the sort of the local social fabric. Lots of different kinds of interests and clubs. You're seeing some immigration that's coming in that's being a little bit more formalized, and so some really good things are happening out there for sure.
Do you have any regrets from after your 32 years in the city? Anything that you wish you could have accomplished that you didn't?
No, I think most of the things that I attempted to do either got passed on or got accomplished in some way, shape, or form. And I always look at things that if it didn't get accomplished, then it probably wasn't meant to be, and maybe we were on the wrong track. And the whole trick is to shift your focus and sort of reload and go ahead from that point of view. So, no, I would have no regrets really on anything.
What's your fondest memory from working with the city?
Well, I don't think there's a single one at all. I think over the years, I think it was the diversity of the councils that changed. They all came in. They were fresh, they were new, they had good ideas, and then some would stay, some would go, and it's really interesting how you can actually do that. Some of the anomalies that took place was sort of the difference between the two provinces. And I think you have to be in a position where we are to actually see the real difference. And one of the biggest things that we've always done, and I think we've done that well, is to try and make the appearance of Lloydminster as seamless between the two provinces. So you wouldn't know driving down the street literally that there's a completely different set of rules on one side or the other. You do find out, when you go for certain programs or things like that too. So that's been one of our biggest challenges, to keep the seamlessness in the city, and in some cases we use it to our advantage as well.
We'll talk more about Lloydminster in just 1 minute. Tom Lysyk just retired after 32 years of working with the city of Lloydminster. Welcome back to the show. Here with me now is Tom Lysyk. 32 years of working with the city of Lloydminster, Tom, and he has just decided to retire. One of the things I think you got to do in the city is you met some royalty here, didn't you?
A couple of times. There was a royal visit, Prince Edward in 2003, which was Lloydminster Centennial. And there was also a royal visit when I first came to town in 1978. and that was an odd situation, because the young man that was Prince Edward was just a little boy in 1978. Right. And I saw him there with his parents, and he was just a little kid, really. And 25 years later, he met up with me at a tree planting in front of City Hall, and it was made known to him that, you've seen this guy before, but it was 25 years ago, and our conversation was basically, so how's Mom and Dad? He's a nice fellow, really. Yeah.
You've got to do a lot of great things at the city. What prompted your decision to leave?
Really, it is a combination of the change that's taking place in sort of the community and stuff. I looked at it in terms of my own thing, that I could ride the desk, so to speak, for another 5 years, and I'm not sure where I would be in terms of really my thinking and my outlook on things. And I always had sort of a hankering to sort of go it on my own, and I thought I'd go a little bit earlier, but still stay involved or still stay engaged in some of the community projects and things like that. In other words, try to help from the outside in instead of the inside out. And also at the same time, you make room for others to come too.
Yeah.
The organization's growing, it's expanding, it needs new people, it needs new blood. And if you can leave on fairly good terms and sort of help people through the transition, then I'd be fine with that, and try these other things that I'm doing. So.
I mean, you're giving the opportunity for new blood to come in, but also they lost another longtime city employee, Roger Brecko, just this past year as well.
Yes.
Do you think the city's going to be facing some challenges with too much new blood and not enough experience?
Well, I guess it depends on how you approach it. I mean, I recall when I first came, it was all new blood at the time too.
Right.
And we learned by doing. We learn by helping each other through things, and I think that's where the organization's strength will be, is each other helping stuff too. You got to remember when you work with the city that you actually have about 28,000 constituents, and if you look at the real good side of it, you've got 28,000 resources. So you can't be gun shy about phoning somebody that knows something you don't know in order to give you help, and you find out when you approach them properly, they're of absolute great help. And there's lots of long-time businesses, short-time businesses, social groups, things like that, that will always aid an employee in sort of making better decisions at City Hall, and they will in the future. So that'll negate the impact of anybody leaving, because, as you know, anybody can leave at any time for a reason, right, and leave a hole or a gap in there. And I think if you think about it properly, you just find ways to sort of mitigate that.
Now you're talking about bringing new blood in. What do you think the city needs to move forward? Is it that new blood that it needs, or is it,
Well, it's partly that. It's partly recognizing who we are in a practical way, and what our next 10 years is going to look like, and what resources they need to pull in. I know that governments right across the country are challenged at all levels, and Lloydminster has to play their cards fairly well. And you know, when you get good thinking people involved that aren't afraid to engage in things like that, I think things will improve. I think things will you know, settle out for them. I don't think things will be perfect. You know, that those are the challenges that you end up working on all the time. So.
Now your job has been divided into like 4 different jobs now. So I have down here the city clerk, a communications officer, the planning manager, and a director of protective services. Yeah. Were you Superman?
No, no. This is common for smaller municipalities that one person would have 3 or 4 roles. The recognition now is that the city has grown to the point where these roles have grown as well, the responsibilities for them, and they're designed to split and divide. This wasn't my departure was more planned and sort of just happened because we could see that in our corporate planning, that we needed new resources, we needed to have somebody specifically to handle certain areas, and that was I was directly involved in actually setting that up. So essentially my position was due to disappear anyways. It was designed that way because we needed to actually spend more time, focus, do a better job in each one of those areas.
So what are you doing next?
Well, I do some management consulting, and I have a number of contacts that I had in and out of the city between Edmonton and Saskatoon that I've talked to recently too, that need some help in management type areas and in little bits of setting up of organizational things and stuff like that. And I guess the trick is to, like the retired guys always joke with me, is that try not to work too hard, but when you're used to working hard, I think you have to sort of just gear down. You can't just shut it off.
For sure. Well, I wish you luck in all those endeavors, Tom, and I'm sure this is not the last time we'll see you.
Probably not. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming in. This has been our conversation with Tom Lysyk, just retired after 32 years of working with the city in Lloydminster. Your top news headlines are after the break.